Hello, what's up? Hey, hey.
Hello. Not much is up. I'm babysitting again. It's the
Oh,
weirdest thing. He's like, he'll be 2 in November, and he still just won't do anything but drink milk.
mm,
It's so strange. Like there was a point where he would eat a little Gerber food, but now he just completely rejects it. He only wants milk,
that is a little weird.
and he's huge. He
But
looks like he's a cornbread fed.
he's all right to drink milk, I think, at 2. But you want to make sure he's off of it by 4, I think, for sure. Maybe even 3.
Yeah, he
But
drinks lactose free milk.
now you reminded me about the people back in the day who would still drink milk till they were like 7 years old and shit, breastfed.
Oh, what's that lady's name? She was she was her stage name is started with a B. Blossom. Blossom breastfed her children till they were like 7 or 8, and I was like, what?
Not a modern practice. Hell no.
That's crazy. I know her nipples worn out.
That's like, and you wonder why some people develop incest kind of whatever relations. Just say
Hmm. Yeah, that's her name, Miam Bialik. Yeah, she's Jewish. Yep.
it.
I used to love watching Blossom. That used to be my shout out to the chat. Sean's here.
Thank you, by the way, Sean. He sent me some donations on the Ko-fi there. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
I didn't realize like all weekend. I'm not sure exactly what day you sent them, but found out yesterday morning. I was like, oh, nice. It was a great thing to wake up to.
Good. I'm glad.
So
I am glad. Oh, wait a minute.
still think you should put up your donation thing.
I will eventually.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get in on my phone now so I can move into the room with the little one. So
right. You didn't manage to get on your phone yet?
let's see.
Here we go.
Is that me?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So now I have to turn this one off.
Today's gonna have to be a little PG for the kitty because Abby's gonna be in the other room with the 2-year-old. So it's not like the 2-year-old can understand what we're saying, but we don't need to be getting. They can hear our like if we get real emotional and stressful, that can distress the baby. So let's try not to go there tonight.
He doesn't talk yet. He's nonverbal so far. He moans a lot though.
Well, he may be autistic. That's the thing that we see a lot of this this more eccentric sort of behavior from kids more and more these days. It's a bit
It's
of a curious.
possible. It's possible because he runs on his tippy toes and he flaps his arms a lot. So
How that became known to be a sign of the autism, I wouldn't know. I'm sure there's a bunch of
I used to care for an autistic child, so that is they say that's one of the indicators. It's a possibility. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have autism, but that is something to just keep a note of.
Well, I think
Basically.
that might be what they call stimming. I don't know if that falls under
Yes,
that.
yes. They call it stimming.
Yeah.
The flapping of the arms.
A perfectly normal thing for certain kinds of people, not for others.
Yeah. So anyway, what's been going on with you?
Oh, not much. I had some court today. Little bit of a court morning. Not so much of a big impactful thing. It's just kind of a court date to schedule another court date. Funny how many of those there are. But my ex's lawyer didn't show up, so it's always nice when I'm the one without the lawyer that I can be there on time, and the lawyer not representing, or the one who's supposed to be representing the person is the one not making it there. So it's like, yeah.
Yep. So that's one point for Michael.
Yep. At least the children's lawyer, we got the office of the children's lawyer involved, so she was there, and we managed to make something productive of it. Actually went and after the court date, excuse me, I went and had a meeting with her, which is partly why we started so late, because I needed to go. She asked me if I could meet with her today, and I was like, well, I got the show, but this is important, so we can push things back. So here we are.
Here we are. Hi, Jacqueline. Does he bite his own arm in frustration? I've never seen him do that, but he flails around a lot in frustration. He like throws himself every which way.
Hey, Jacqueline, what's up?
Which makes me nervous because, like he could hit his head. But he throws himself all over the place.
Yeah, you got to be careful with the little ones. Not what they do sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. This is pretty cool. He's sitting in his little seat, playing in the food. Maybe he'll take a bite eventually.
Oh, nice. One of those little toy play tables that he can sit in.
Yeah, what do they call those? Those high chairs?
I'm not sure. There's all kinds of different contraptions that make raising kids a lot easier these days.
Yep.
My favorite's that swing that you can put them up in like a doorway. They love those.
Oh yeah, they love those. I found this thing is like $100. It's a trampoline because he's getting too big for this playpen. He's almost like trying to crawl out of it. So it's a trampoline, and like it contains them on the inside, but it has like a boxing. What is that thing that you punch on? Boxing bag. There's a boxing bag. There's like a hammock, and then there are handlebars, so you could like swing off of them. And he loves to jump, so I think I'm gonna get that next.
Nice. That sounds cool.
It does sound. I wish I could get in it.
Build one of those for some grown-ups.
Right. Well, I mean, they kind of do. They're outside.
You just gotta go to the place where pay $100 or whatever.
Yeah, Back Life has a boxing glove under the carport. I wouldn't know the first thing about that. Boxing properly.
Yeah. My ex has a punching bag at her place that was left there by her ex after me, and I was gonna grab that, but I don't really have anywhere to put it in my apartment. But I should take it anyways. One of these days, it would be probably useful.
Yeah, you could take your frustrations out.
I'm getting fat and out of shape, whatever. I gotta get fucking getting some exercise apart from walking. Walking the dog doesn't exactly do.
Don't you ride a bike a lot?
I do. That's where I'm maybe not able to do much more exercise than I do without drinking less, but that's something I should probably do too. So,
And as you were saying that, I was going in the freezer looking to see if I had anything to sip on. And I don't, so I guess it's water for me, which is probably good.
Sometimes it breaks what you gotta do.
Yeah. That is true, Jacqueline. She said, I don't need to learn how to box. I have guns. That's true.
Yeah, that helps. Might still want to know how to box in case you don't happen to be able to use them.
Yeah. I need to get another. I wrote down what kind of gun it is.
What's that? You're getting muffled.
Oh, you hear the baby? I wrote down what kind of gun it is. I can't remember. I wrote it down though. It's like a handgun that is really good for like open carry because it's small in stature, and it was like only $200-300.
Only.
I mean, for a gun that's not expensive. Guns ain't cheap.
Yeah. I'm not sure if they'd be inflated if you go doing the analysis like you do with any other kind of product. I bet you'd find that they are a lot more. The price is a lot higher than it would need to be based on the materials and the labor.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I'm sure.
people will try to make the argument maybe it's a good thing that weapons are so expensive. People would buy less. Not sure that bear it out in the results.
Well, who made this joke? I think it was Chris Rock. Said they need to up the price of bullets.
Yeah.
'Cause people wouldn't just go shooting all willy nilly if a bullet costs $1,000. It's like if your intended target is going to be the target, because you got to save up money to get this bullet.
Hmm. Well, now I have a question about maybe something people don't know what I'm talking about, a Giffen good or a Veblen good, but I'm wondering if a gun is a Giffen good, which is to say it doesn't really follow the rules of supply and demand like a normal commodity. Um,
Giffen? Like, can you spell that?
GIF. Oh, it's FFEN. Yeah. GIFFEN.
Huh. I've actually never heard that term.
I could call up the whatever Wikipedia.
Um, what?
I'm not getting an answer. It's probably something I have to do deeper dive on. Probably have to ask the AI because search engines don't help sometimes these days.
My answer would be yes, because there's like more guns in America than there are people.
It helps to kind of understand. It's like a paradox sort of thing. So a Veblen good is a good like a diamond ring or a really expensive sports car. Like like the toy product they buy as a status symbol for their ego. That's not to be confused with Veblen good. It says at the top. So, but the Given good is kind of like the opposite. It's like bread or beer or rice, and it says for it's a product that people consume more of as the price rises, and vice versa, violating the law of demand. For ordinary goods, as the price of the good rises, the substitution effect makes consumers purchase less of it and more of substitute goods. The income effect can either reinforce or weaken this decline in demand, but for an ordinary good, never outweighs it. By contrast, a Giffen good is so strongly an inferior good in higher demand at lower incomes, so poor people, wherever products, that the contrary income effect more than offsets the substitution effect, and the net effect of the good's price rise is to increase demand for it. The phenomenon is known as the Giffen paradox. So it's very interesting when I learned that.
Okay, that was a mouthful. That's something
Basically,
I'd have to read as you're saying it. I have to see the words
I
because
might.
it didn't quite go in my head all the way.
I think an example might be helpful here. So, suppose a consumer has a budget of $6 per day that he spends on food. He must eat 3 meals a day, and there are only two options: the inferior good, bread, which costs $1 per meal, and the superior good, cake, which costs $4 per meal. Cake is always preferable to bread at present. I feel like meat would be a better example, but sure, cake, and why not? At present, he would purchase 2 loaves of bread and 1 cake, completely exhausting his budget to fill 3 meals each day. Now, were the price of bread to rise from $1 to $2, then the consumer would have no choice but to give up cake and spend his entire budget on 3 loaves of bread in order to eat 3 meals a day. In this situation, consumption of bread would have actually increased as a result of the price increase. Thus, bread would be a given good in this example.
Okay. I could see that.
I think they totally use this
The
against
example helped.
to keep us poor. Yeah, this same thing happens with beer and like a bunch of other products, rice, wheat noodles, if you can see here. I don't get too into the weeds on that. I say, what was it? So as now I got the example, you got a clear understanding what a giffen good is. The point of that, me bringing that up was, are guns a giffen good? But maybe bullets would be a better example. I bet you those are for sure.
Mm-hmm. I know we have what do they call them? Gun shows. They happen a lot in Louisiana. They go like from place to place to place with these gun shows, and you could purchase guns there. And I mean the place is huge, and tons of people show up every time. Every time I've been to a gun show, it is not it's not empty in there.
I'm seeing Jacqueline says, "Why is cake the superior good? Doesn't it contain empty calories?" Exactly, but I think what they're saying is probably a little influenced. I forget now, tip of my tongue. What the other? It's like this sort of, maybe, I'm not sure if it's a subjective theory of value.
Right, just because it's tasty, I
There's
guess.
like a water type of paradox, or diamond water. Maybe that's a diamond water paradox thing, because there's this thing about, because water is plentiful and abundant, even though it's more valuable, we're more willing to, I forget exactly. Yeah, diamond water paradox. I guess we're delving into my my funny research in the economic paradoxes and stuff today for our first topic. This is also an interesting, the paradox of value. Also known as the diamond water paradox, is the paradox that although water is on the whole more useful in terms of survival than diamonds command a higher price in the market. So isn't it, if you just think in an objective fashion, since water is so much more important for our survival, it should be the higher price commodity, but it's not somehow. So, but diamond's also a Veblen good, so this is kind of, maybe these are related, these goods and these paradoxes, whatever.
Hi, Miss Macy.
What's up, Miss Macy?
Oh, thank you for that, Jacqueline.
Yeah, that was correct. We could have skipped the Wikipedia and gone with yours. And then the budget of $6 to feed yourself. Are they living in fantasy land? I think they're
Fantasy Island.
trying to use because it's a hypothetical example, trying to keep it simple and easy to understand, but probably a bit of both.
I mean, one meal is not even $6. You can't even get one meal for $6.
In this part of the world, though, this is the funny thing about how, when we think about third world countries living on $2 a day, it's because their currency in comparison to ours, and they actually do often live off of stuff like $6 a day.
Yeah, they more than likely are growing or killing their own food. So the money is like It makes no sense for them. Like, why do we need money? We have land. We have land.
But even a lot of people with land, without money, they often, if they don't have the right equipment they need, the land, they're not able to maximize the value of the land. So
This is true.
Jacqueline says, so does that mean that water has a higher value in objective terms, but diamonds have a higher value in social terms? That's probably a good way to put it. Sounds right to me.
Mm-hmm.
Although I don't value diamonds highly socially. I feel that they're not something, maybe that's not so romantic of me, but I don't think we need to be valuing diamonds the way we do.
Right.
Especially now that they can be manufactured in a lab, making them not rare anymore.
Right. Or you could, like just there are substitutes for diamonds that are way less expensive and look just as good. So who cares?
Mm. Yeah, I see Macy was saying CBS did a study on a bunch of old people a while back, and they found the old people that had a cushion lived longer than skinny, frail old people. I did hear something like that. I didn't know it was a CBS study, but I think you're right.
I think about that, Miss Macy, because I only weigh 120 20 pounds. I fluctuate 120, 125. And the older you get, like you start losing weight. And I was just like, I think I need to try to gain some weight or something because
Might be
I
in
don't
trouble.
really have any weight to lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I thought that I heard also people tend to, after they pass the age of 30, they tend to just gain weight from then on. But there might be a certain point, like at the age of 60 or 70, where there's a reversal where you just start to lose weight after.
Yeah, because I'm 49 and I never gained any weight in my 30s. I've
Sometimes
been
I
kind
think
of
take these
consistent.
science theories with a grain of salt because they're not
Yeah.
as right as they sound.
And what makes me think about that is when my dad was sick, my dad's a very, very small person. And he just looked so frail and I don't know if pitiful is the right word, but it definitely, he definitely could have used some weight.
Yeah, well, pathetic is a good word. I find it always interesting how the modern use of the word pathetic is kind of derogatory, but the ancient Greek
Oh,
idea of pathos,
I,
that's where
s-
sympathy comes from.
I said pitiful,
Same kind of
but
thing.
same thing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, that's a smoothie. Black Life is here.
Hey, what's up, Black Life?
Michael said hello.
You gonna bring your mama some?
Sure.
Yeah, I think this is definitely something that's happening, Jacqueline. Some maybe some elderly people, especially ones who don't have family to support them, aren't taken care of by social services, have Alzheimer's or dementia, and are forgetting to feed themselves. Yeah, or like alcoholics tend to just stop eating after a while. Same with a lot of people with like drug addictions.
Yeah, sometimes I'll ask my mom, do you know what you ate? And she doesn't remember. Or even if she ate. So, yeah, that makes sense. Jacqueline says hi, Black Light.
Hi, Jack.
You gotta take care of your stomach. It's the only one you got.
Oh, well, anorexic is more. What is anorexic? Is that when you choose not to eat?
Right. The bulimic is when you throw up, and anorexic is when you starve yourself, I guess.
Okay.
Although might not be perfectly descriptive term,
Yeah, I think
like the psychological issue of being kind of afraid of eating for your bodily image is more what anorexia is.
right, exactly. 1 second, I gotta bring my mom some food.
Okay. So if anyone's feeling like they're happy to join us, this is our Tuesday show, and we'd always be happy to have a conversation with whoever's out there. If you guys got some topics you'd like us to discuss in the meantime, if you're not feeling feeling like coming up tonight, that's all good too. The two topics that I was thinking would be worth sharing if you like. There were some two videos that I'd flagged. One of them, they're a little bit off of my regular beat, getting a little bit away from the classic politics. The first topic is about quantum mechanics, quantum physics, and about basically this potential problem that we have where the material aspect, like the materialist philosophy of science, has been kind of pushed out of quantum physics, and there's kind of this idealist distortion or confirmation bias at work in quantum physics. And so I've always kind of had that sort of suspicion, but me not being a physicist, enough of a actual rigorous scientist in that kind of whatever the laboratory sense, I'd never really been able to kind of pursue it. But I just came across these researchers, this podcast of some scientists, physicists, I guess, who were talking about this problem. They were interviewing this guy called Pierre-Marie Robitaille, who was talking about this experiment back in, I think, late 1800s or early 1900s, where they did this experiment with a box and some light. But the crucial issue is this guy named Kirchhoff had treated the walls of the experiment, material involved in the experiment, as if it was inconsequential to the outcome, to the results that they got from the experiment, which was a pretty fatal. They ended up basing a lot of stuff like, I guess, Planck scale, or the Planck unit and stuff off of this sort of, those was some of the downstream effects of this kind of experiment. And so this correction would sort of, it would be like we not necessarily wasted a century, but we've been spending 100 years kind of looking in the wrong place. So I thought it was really interesting and important for us to kind of weigh in on that, whether we're experts or not. We those of us, we have varying degrees of knowledge on this sort of stuff. So we could sort of decide how credible it sounds, right? Because with scientists, it's always fun to see which one is the one that's full of shit. There's the ones we have found with stuff like COVID, where there's the people defending the establishment viewpoint are not necessarily the ones you want to be listening to. But just because they're the fringe rebel scientist with the unorthodox view doesn't mean that they've actually debunked something. So that was the first topic. The other one was a debate on eugenics, which is a little bit more, which I haven't watched, but I saw this new channel that was doing a debate about eugenics with a modern day person today who's apparently wanting to defend eugenics. So I thought maybe if you guys wanted to go into that, we could look at that if we got nothing better to talk about.
Oh, that sounds interesting. I didn't really get to hear all of the first one because the baby started crying.
Well, I was telling you about it on offline on the phone about the quantum physics, the materialist, bringing
Oh,
back materialism into quantum physics, because apparently you would have thought that that was a no-brainer, that physics is material science, but apparently people want to treat the physical like it's non-material. And I think because when we're looking at the smallest of scales and stuff, you could maybe say that some of the experiments and whatnot gave them reason to believe that that was the case. But I think we've kind of, I think there's a kind of postmodernist problem with quantum mechanics. You know, we've got this these ideas that defy objective kind of logical thinking, and we're just sort of in critical thinking, we're made to kind of believe that like things can be in two places at once, right? The cat can be alive and dead at the same time, like this kind of counterintuitive. It could be counterintuitive and strangely correct, but it also could be so counterintuitive because it's wrong. You know what I mean?
Either topic is okay with me. The first topic, you have to share stuff because I have to physically see the words.
Yeah, I have to actually track down the videos if you want me to share them. We're gonna have to let the video play and sort of let the actual scientific people lay out what I'm talking about, but it's a nice little break, I think, from the typical political end of the world stuff we've sort of going through.
Not the end of the world.
I just have to just give me a moment to try and think of the words or whatever. Otherwise, I could just go trolling through my history and I'll eventually find it. That'll take a moment.
I am taking my mom her medicine. Here you go, Mom. Grab that. Grab this. No, it's on the top. You see it? Okay. Thank you. You want your light on? No? Okay.
Would you like a cup of tea?
All right, that's done. You found it?
Sorry, I'm still looking. I think here it is.
I said you
It's a bit
found it?
long, so it's probably something for people to finish watching in their own time because it's like an hour and 40 minutes long. But Tuesday nights we go long, but if we're gonna stop for commentary, that's more something as a teaser of, and then if it's interesting, feel free to watch the rest.
I don't think I could go that long because of the baby.
Yeah, but it'll be good to introduce kind of the concept, and then hopefully I'll pique some interest. So, ready for me to get starting the video?
Mm-hmm.
All right. What's up, old man Barker? The topic is the missing link between quantum and classical physics.
Welcome back to Demystify Sci. I'm Shiloh.
I'm Anastasia.
This is the podcast where we search for the theories that will change the world. And we have one of those for you today.
Back in January, we released a conversation with cosmologist Brian Keating about cosmic microwave blackbody radiation. After the conversation, we got a lot of feedback where people listened and they enjoyed it and they saw that something was happening, but we didn't manage to get across why it is that we care so much about this esoteric physical law that 100 years ago was used to rationalize the kind of light produced by heated bodies.
They didn't understand why Brian was so upset about what we were saying.
Yeah, that's a great point. People saw that something was happening and everybody was very emotional and it was a very intense conversation about a very esoteric topic. And we've been meaning for a long time to sit down and debrief what happened during that conversation and to try to explain why it is that we think that blackbody radiation is so important. And there's nobody who's more important for this conversation than Pierre-Marie Robitaille, who has been the leading scholar of the fundamental physics of blackbody radiation for at least the last 20 years. He runs a YouTube channel where he shares a lot of his work called Sky Scholar. He's written hundreds of papers on the subject. And Pierre is basically saying that there was a mistake made about the way that we interpret the physical cause of blackbody radiation that has expanded and metastasized through all of physics. Yes, Planck solved the equations and he figured out a way to relate the shape of the radiation spectrum produced by a heated body to its temperature, but he did so by completely ignoring the physical nature, the physical lattice, the material properties of the body that is producing that radiation. And what has happened as a consequence is that we have come to live in a world where the cosmos is filled with impossible objects. You have white dwarfs and neutron stars. These are ultra compact, super dim, super hot objects where a teaspoon of a neutron star weighs as much as the entire Earth. And there's no real physical explanation for how something like that could be possible. And Pierre-Marie's work is centered on the idea that there's no reason for how it's possible because it's not possible. Physics has made a terrible, terrible mistake about what black body radiation tells them about the nature of the body that is producing the light. The argument that we give here is that if we actually physicalize the basis of black body radiation, if we ask the question of, okay, well, atoms produce light, and then, small assemblies of molecules produce a different kind of light, and then larger assemblies of molecules produce a new kind of light, and then you have this extreme of black body radiation where all of a sudden there's this perfect relationship between the light that's produced by the body and the shape of its spectrum. That tells us something truly.
Can you Google what black body radiation is?
Yeah, sure. One sec. Let me just.
I don't know if she said it. The baby's crying.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic, that this term black body has got nothing to do with black people, but it's become such an important aspect of cosmology and everything. Like they're talking about stars as if they have this thing called black body radiation. Star being a ball of gas or whatever, being this big thing of light, and the black body radiation at the same time. It's like this is all kind of weird and confusing. That's what I'm saying. It seems like it's over everyone's head, but that's also how con artistry works sometimes. Make it all sound so elaborate that people just believe that it's real when it's just an elaborate ruse. The house of cards collapses, if you get too close. So let me look up this black body radiation. It's basically got to do with like a hole, a cavity, whatever. If it's a perfect kind of shaped hole, then the radiation, the amount of energy that would go into it equals the amount that comes out of it, I think. So let me see. Let me share this tab instead. So it says black body radiation is the thermal electromagnetic radiation within or surrounding a body in thermodynamic equilibrium with its environment, emitted by a black body, an idealized, opaque, non-reflective body. It has a specific continuous spectrum that depends only on the body's temperature. A perfectly insulated enclosure, which is in thermal equilibrium internally, contains black body radiation and will emit it through a hole made in its wall, provided the hole is small enough to have a negligible effect upon the equilibrium. So it's like a tiny little hole or a box with a cavity in it that is the right shape, that basically the amount of energy that leaks into it is the exact same as the amount of energy that leaks out of it.
Sounds like a black hole.
Right. So this is where, but the experiment, the Kershaw experiment that they're talking about, this is where it gets really important for us to act like the temperature depends only on so it says it has a specific continuous spectrum that depends only on the body's temperature. This might be a claim on Wikipedia here that these guys have been proven wrong in their research, because what they're saying is our measurements of temperature with these kinds of experiments might be wrong. But if we are actively neglecting how the walls of the experiment contribute to the temperature, it seems like a ridiculous mistake for them to make, but that's what happens. People have biases. So are we good about what the black body radiation is? It might help now that we've had a little explanation. You'll kind of by listening to them talk about it, it'll help solidify your understanding, hopefully.
It's still over my head, but that's better.
Right. Yeah. That's fine. I think sometimes you just gotta listen to stuff that's over your head, and then maybe if you learn something else afterwards, the fact that you listened, even though you didn't understand, right? We gotta give ourselves credit. Just because we don't understand doesn't mean we're incapable of learning. Right?
Correct.
All right, here we go.
Fundamental about light And it gives us the ability to look out into the stars, where the only information that we have is light. We live in a universe where if you're looking at something that's millions of light years away, the only information that you have is the kind of light that it produces. And so right now we operate with a theory where, well, I don't know, it just does all kinds of crazy things. But if we have a physical theory for it, then we have a way forward where we can actually create physical theories of what the stars are and what they're doing and why they look the way that they do without shrinking.
Oh, I missed it. If Jack's still there, sorry.
That was
Apparently, that's okay. Sorry, let me call it up. I had a long day. Been to Preston to see her daughter and spent over 5 hours traveling. So off to bed. Yeah, have a good night. Sorry, this might be a little too much of a head scratcher. Have a good sleep. And what's up, Cookies?
Oh shit.
To put it simply, Abidoo, black body radiation is just radioactive toxic ass people. People like Cal
My bad.
Cal Kalinske. Black folk Cal Kalinske. What's up?
Breaking them down into objects that have physical theory for it, then we have a way forward where we can actually create physical theories of what the stars are and what they're doing and why they look the way that they do, without shrinking them down into objects that have 2 solar masses and a 15-kilometer radius sphere. These things are a solution to the problem that has come from a lack of physical mechanism for the source of black body radiation. And so our conversation with Pierre-Marie Robitaille is divided into 2 episodes. In the first episode, we sit down and we talk about why it is that we care so much about this strangely esoteric piece of physics that has been on the back burner for 100 years. It's considered a solved problem. And we go through the fact that there needs to be a physical basis that explains the difference in the kind of light produced by individual isolated gaseous atoms and the atoms when they're inside of lattices and the kind of lattices, these molecularly bonded atoms.
what's a lot?
That are
What?
capable of approximating the pure mathematics of this Planckian spectrum. They're different things, and there's a physical reason for why the world looks the way that it does. And in the second part of the conversation, we talk about how all of physics is going to change on the basis of this apparently small correction. Because everything from the nature and structure of the stars down to what it means for something to have a temperature falls out of this new physical material understanding for why certain bodies produce a spectrum of light that perfectly reports their temperature.
And searching for a material foundation in physics is something that we have been hot on since the beginning of this project. I would say it is primarily what we do here with respect to physics. It is really the only thing we can contribute because the mathematics are phenomenal, the experimentation is phenomenal, but oftentimes the physical material basis is
Or sorry, muted. Yeah, I think so. Lattice. I think that's what they mean by lattice. A structured set of atoms. Something like that.
completely absent. We are super excited that we have completed a very large-scale project. We have written a book about our perspective on how we can retune physics to be closer in line with the material reality that we know well from our daily existence. And so if you would like to pick up a copy of that book, we have it on pre-sale at this moment.
I would just say, I think one of the reasons why this materialist philosophy has been pushed out of quantum mechanics has everything to do with the struggle between capitalism and communism, and how socialists were the ones who championed dialectical materialism, and the capitalist stuff, while Adam Smith might have had some kind of materialist philosophy, there was a lot of idealism that he had, as well as a lot of the people who decided to take his theories and run with them, kind of thing. So it's interesting to talk about. Capitalism is a very materialistic system, but it kind of needs idealism to work. It's kind of complex. But what's up, Myra Page? Good to see you.
It will be out in general sales very, very soon, and you can find a link to that in the description. It is called Paradox Lost: The Material Principles of Natural Philosophy, and in many ways it overlaps very deeply with the conversation we're having here with Pierre today.
And the reason that it overlaps so deeply, which I think that I buried the lead on this a little bit, is that true physics, where we examine what it is the black bodies are doing to produce their light, is a link that allows us to finally understand quantum physics. Because the same way that it took us forever to figure out what it means for heat to be a fluid, and then we discovered that it actually was the motion of molecules, The exact same thing is true about black bodies and what they tell us about the very nature of light, the very foundation of quantum physics. And from them, we can see that the world is far less weird and spooky than people are trying to tell you that it is.
Thank you to folks who have been buying our record and supporting this music project. I'm super stoked to also announce that we have started recording our second album. And we're really only able to do that because of you who have bought this record in the first place. It is making it possible for us to do another one. And so I'm super stoked. If you want to pick up a copy of that music project, there will be a link in the description, and you can check out a little bit of it at any of your streaming platforms. Our music project is called Secretary of Nature.
And if you want to
All right, sorry. They're just doing the introduction. We have not even gotten to the. They're gonna talk to this guy named Pierre Marie Robitaille, who's like kind of even more smart than they are. So that's where I was saying I got the two topics. I thought maybe we better start with this one because it's not as sad or whatever, depressing as the eugenics kind of stuff. But the eugenics might be easier to wrap our heads around.
Yeah, this one's pretty intense.
I just want to maybe let it play to the point where they discuss this experiment that they're really honing in on, Kirchhoff's thing, whatever. Because you have to maybe people need to do more research on what the philosophy of materialism is, what dialectical materialism is, right? I could call up the definition, right? But looking at the definition alone isn't exactly enough. You might want to actually read like Stalin and Lenin and Marx and them, Engels, and Mao, like they write about what they understood dialectical materialism to be, right? What the orthodox theory says that it is. But that's separate to, there's a whole history of materialism and idealism that goes back to like the Greek philosophers from 3,000 years ago or whatever. So it's just, as far as what the West has no culture or whatever, if whatever culture there is to understand about the West, like this is kind of it, you know? It's culminated in this struggle between idealism and materialism as like what is the worldview that helps us best understand reality. And from my understanding, it's materialism, but more specifically dialectical materialism that helps us understand reality. So this is where this stuff is so confusing because of all this idealistic nonsense in society. That's kind of the poison in the well, you know. So you gotta.
Yeah, that one. I wasn't ready for that one.
You'll find some people are what you call like Neoplatonists, and there's like Plato, the guy with the cave and the shadows on the fire. Like a lot of people still reference a lot of Plato's things. They don't even maybe know that's what they're doing, but it's pretty ubiquitous in our culture. But Plato specifically, like one of the big proponents of the idealist kind of philosophy, because he has this idea about this abstract realm that the material thing is more of a reflection of the more pure abstract thing that the material is a representation of. But he's kind of got it backwards. And so if you want to be a Platonist, whatever, you kind of got a backwards understanding of reality. But it seems pretty really profound, you know? But I don't know if that's how reality actually is. With these I forget what these abstract like forms, like they have like almost an objective kind of aspect to their non-physical whatever primacy, you know.
Michael, physical is very hard to conceive at such a small scale, especially when we cannot identify where things like gravity and or magnetism come from.
Right. This is where kind of found some interesting stuff doing an inquiry about this. And basically, when you go small enough, there's like a paradox there where they get like the instrument that you use to observe the smallest things possible becomes bigger than it should be, kind of thing, because of the act of observation. It sort of suggests to us, I've just got intuition, wherever this thought that if we could become small enough ourselves, if we could shrink ourselves down to that tiniest of tiny things, what we would end up doing is actually bigger than, like, we would make ourselves the size of the universe. Because I think when you zoom in far enough, all you end up doing is zooming so far to the tiny that you come all the way on the other side into the massive or whatever. And so I think the instrument that's observing the tiny, when it gets all the way down to it, becomes the size of the universe or whatever in comparison to what it's looking at, basically. It's kind of trippy as fuck. And it really shows that, so I forget exactly, I have to look at like the AI conversation I was having, but there's a really good, I gotta call it up now, whatever I can find it, but there's a nice scale reference as far as the Planck scale, like the size between two things at the tiniest of scales, or the distance between them on the smallest scale, is actually far larger than the size of the universe itself on the biggest of scales. And that makes no sense at all.
Yeah, this one's above my above my abilities right now.
Well, all right. Well, you guys
Especially
want
with a baby running around.
No worries. Do you want me to table it or shelve it or whatever you want to?
No, you can finish what
something
you were. I want to hear this part. I'm just saying I don't really have much to comment.
No worries.
Here.
Let's see. I want to maybe. All right, here he's coming up soon. So I want him to let the guests speak at least for a little bit. So.
Podcast. If you like what we do, come over to patreon.com/demystifysci. You can support us for 75 cents a week. We have intentionally set that price low so that if you believe in what we do, you can support us no matter what your current economic conditions are, because there are very few things that you can buy for 75 cents a week and very few things of such immense value that you can contribute to at such a low rate. If you don't have 75 cents a week, though, you can just hit subscribe, because it helps us grow the channel. It helps us get better guests. And this is the way that we can ensure the renaissance that we really believe is coming for physics and for all of science, actually, of the
Nice. Let's skip ahead.
center of nature. Okay, so some stuff makes. I really think that we should start with a discussion of why is this piece of math that is at the center of the quantum revolution so important, because it seems like an esoteric detail of nature. Okay, so some stuff makes light based off of its temperature, and some stuff is more accurate in the light that it makes in terms of reporting its temperature. Why does anybody care? That just seems like such a tiny little minute detail of physics that only the most hard-bit nerds would spend their lives thinking about.
It turns out black body radiation it's at the center of all of astrophysics. I mean, it's, we have this principle of physics, and we use it everywhere. And if we're wrong about the principle, then everything's going to collapse. It's like you've built an empire on a house of cards, and you pull. I think I can start in 1859 with what Kirchhoff said, right? He derives a law from mathematics. There's only, and he makes it a law of physics. And laws of physics.
Uh-oh, what happened? Hello? Did we lose Michael? Okay, well, my brain can't comprehend that right now. Sean says, now imagine if you have an almost infinite ability to zoom in or out, then add the ability to go infinitely to the left or right in dimensions. Are dimensions from left to right, though? I thought they were like stacked on each other or something. I don't know. It's been so long since I've read about this stuff. I used to be super into it, though. Especially with the the autistic child I used to watch. He was high functioning autism, and he was super into quantum theory and stuff.
Whoops, my bad. I didn't realize I dropped out. I was trying to call up the other video, and I guess that just overloaded my system. Sorry.
No worries.
Well, I don't know how long I was gone there. Did you want me to call back that video?
It didn't go that long.
Yeah. All right. Sorry. Let's just start back over with the.
Only the most hard-bit nerds would spend their lives thinking about.
It turns out black body radiation is it's at the center of all of astrophysics. The temperature of the universe, it's one of the big pillars of the Big Bang. So, we have this principle of physics, and we use it everywhere. And if we're wrong about the principle, then everything's going to collapse. It's like you've built an empire on a house of cards, and you pull one card, they all come tumbling down. And I think that's exactly what's happening here in astronomy. I mean, so I think I can start in 1859 with what Kirchhoff said, right? He derives a law from mathematics. There's only math in it, and he makes it a law of physics. And laws of physics have to come from experimental evidence, right? You don't make laws from mathematics. You observe nature, and then you try to use mathematics to help us understand nature, to make it clearer to everyone. We can put an equation to this. I guess we'll go back to, the fact that
Can you stop him for a
objects
second?
emit light. I mean, that's well known. All objects emit light. You and I emit light. All of us emit light.
So,
Go ahead.
okay, when you were looking up black body radiation, did it say like when that was discovered term?
I still got it over here. Sure, it says it somewhere.
Because out of it, and hi Indy, by the way. So out of everything that I've read about like the Big Bang Theory, everything I've read about the CERN collider, the galaxies, all that stuff, I've never heard that term, black box radiation. So I'm wondering how new of a term that is.
I'm thinking 1900, 1901.
Really? That's what it says?
Well, let me share this one instead. Black body radiation. It says by the late 1800s, it was a lively research topic for both theoretical and experimental physicists. Samuel Pierre-Paul Langley in the United States and a group of experimental physicists in Germany centered around Physikalisch-Technische Reichsanstalt in Charlottenburg had developed sophisticated techniques for studying this radiation. So it says Max Planck in 1901 derived a new equation to describe black body radiation, but that's not the term itself. I think the term itself comes from the 1800s, late 1800s.
Holy moly. How have I never heard that term before? Okay, I was just wondering.
No worries. So probably a good thing, at least that we covered some of this, whatever, some terminology, learn something new for the day.
Mm-hmm. You about to play it?
Chord Lord's getting right in my mind. That's right. This is why Is this why I smoke a lot of weed, or do I watch this stuff because I smoke a lot of weed? You know, chicken and the egg.
I actually didn't hear that.
At 11, my
Babies out of my ear.
I was saying, do I watch? Do I smoke a lot of weed because I watch this stuff because I smoke a lot of weed?
Oh. It's a circular path, I think.
Mm-hmm. One thing leads to the other.
Mm-hmm.
microns in the infrared, we are.
What's that?
Oh, I was just saying you could go ahead.
Okay.
We are very, very good emitters of light. And people who use IR cameras know that. But all objects emit light. And in the 1800s, 1700s, people got fascinated with this, about the ability of objects to emit light. And they discovered, that when the object was, if you put soot on things and you made them black, they became really good emitters. When you heated them, so they just took lamp black, which was soot, and then they'd coat spheres with lamp black, and they'd call that a black body. At first, it was just like a sphere. It was an object. Then they heated it, and then they recorded.
Sorry.
No, that's interesting.
So I guess that right there, you just explained where the term black body comes from, and then radiation probably not till they do these experiments.
I found that part to be really interesting, because they're starting to. I think with AI, they want to start using melanin to help power these data centers, because of its ability to. I'm sorry.
They want to use like artificial melanin to synthesize melanin in a design experiment to make it. So what are you saying? I'm not sure what you're saying.
Yes, they want to use. Now I don't know if it's synthesized melanin, or, I mean, these evil people, they might try to.
Harvest.
But yeah, to power AI centers and stuff like that.
Fucking weird.
I did read about that. I thought that was very interesting. If you wanted to Google something about that.
Yeah. That makes me think of those brain boxes that they're making, these little artificial brains that I was talking about a couple months ago, and the AI is being trained, probably like its ability to think is made exponentially whatever better by using biological semi-alive kind of processes, and that's kind of how you end up with the cyborg stuff, the Borg in the future. It's the beginning of the end.
Right.
But that's not to be. I guess I watch too many movies.
No, you should Google it. They're really trying to use melanin in those in computers now.
All right, cool. We could do a research. Maybe I'll do a deep dive. We could do a Thursday on it. All right, let's get on to this. I'm gonna have to take Bella for a walk, a half hour, and then we can kind of change topics or something.
Okay, I'm not gonna stay on too long because the baby's gonna.
Yeah, it's gonna get late.
It's hard for me to hear, and I don't know. After a while, he's gonna get tired of just throwing.
Yeah, and then you're gonna
walking around in the living room just throwing shit everywhere.
It's not good to be saying I'm going to watch the baby and then have split attention and whatnot. It's like if you can manage it, but
No,
definitely
he's fine.
priority is the baby at the moment for sure.
He's fine. He has to learn how to play by himself too.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So because I don't want to keep him if he's wanting to get. I got to get. I do got to walk Bella. So hopefully before you go, I can get that done. Whatever. But let's get some more of this video out first.
The emission that came off of it, and then they realized that, wow, you know, when things are black, they really emit well. Actually, you see that in nature yourself. Like, you know, if you're walking on your cement driveway and then you go walk on the paved paved road in the summertime, you'll find that the pavement's a lot hotter than the cement driveway, right? So the pavement is a really good absorber and emitter of light, whereas with the cement, it's reflecting part of the light that's coming in from the sun and hitting it.
I have a good sense of how motion became the way that we think about heat, right? So there's the idea that it's some fluid that permeates all kinds of stuff, and then Rumford does the cannon boring experiments, and they realize that there's actually an inexhaustible amount of this fluid in a substance, and they're like, oh man, it must actually be something about things moving past each other that generates temperature. But I just realized as you're telling this story about this fascination with objects emitting light back in the 1800s, I don't have a very good picture of how they realized that heat was also light.
So what they did was they were able to observe the kind of light coming off an object, and it emitted a certain spectrum. They built these at first they built objects that were black, they were coating with soot, and then they discovered that, well, that was not giving us a well-controlled situation because the room was in there and all that. So then they started building cavities, and they lined the cavities with soot, or they built a graphite cavity with graphite walls. They put a little hole in it, and then they were able to control the heat that they inputted into the walls of the cavity. So they knew, okay, now I can put this in an oil bath, for instance. I know the temperature of the oil, so I know the temperature of the cavity, and then they could look at the light coming out of the little hole. And then they came to the realization that, well, the light that came out of the little hole was always the same. You know, it depended only on the temperature, right? But in those cases, you know, they were using soot inside. If you read Planck's book on heat radiation, you know, he always put a little piece of carbon in his cavities, right? So what was that? That was like a perfect absorber. He was putting a perfect absorber in there, right? And so they were working with perfect absorbers. Actually, Kirchhoff was talking about, you know, a layer of soot infinitely thin. You know, he knew he took very little soot to make the wall black. And that was the beginning of this adventure down. These became called black bodies, you know. So there were cavities that were empty, and they heated them by placing them in an oil bath, and or you could heat them other ways. Just increase the temperature. You know what the temperature of the wall is, and then they were able to describe the light that was coming out.
When you say they give off the same kind of light, you mean the different colors that come out. So the light comes out, you split it with a prism, and then it has this very distinct intensity per color profile, a fingerprint. That's
right.
What comes to be termed the black body spectrum, right?
Right. That's called, that's a black body spectrum, and it's characterized a very specific behavior. You know, at low frequency, it moves with the square of the frequency, and then at high frequency, it falls exponentially. And then the peak, which became called the Wien's peak, if you looked at the temperature where the peak was in this distribution, then you knew by Wien's displacement law, just multiply the temperature by a constant, and that was related to the peak, the position of the peak.
The wavelength, the color, right?
Right, the wavelength, and that was related to the temperature. So this was such a nice, here we had this beautiful curve, and then Planck came along and he gave us the equation for the curve. But what's interesting about the whole thing is that we never really, because Kirchhoff came along, when Kirchhoff came along, he said, this process is independent of the nature of the walls. He just said that outright in 1859, and no one ever questioned it. He wrote a paper, and this became known as Kirchhoff's law in 1859. But then just a couple years later, people started criticizing that proof, and that proof collapsed. So then Kirchhoff came up with another proof, again, a mathematical proof, and that proof collapsed.
Kirchhoff is saying that it's not just black bodies that give us this nice profile, but any body should be able to do this.
If you had a box, you had a cavity, and had a little hole in it, the nature of the walls didn't matter at all. If you brought them to the same temperature, you'd always get the same curve.
No matter what they're made out of, that's what you mean.
Doesn't matter what they're made out of. It's independent of the nature of the walls.
And the problem is that all of the studies were done with this particular.
I find it it would be the most bizarre kind of expression of racism, you might say, that they felt the need to dismiss the blackness of the walls as a relevant factor. And that's, I don't know, is that a counterintuitive instance of whiteness?
I don't know. I started I kind of got confused at the graph part.
Right. That's where I don't understand some of that stuff either. That's a fancy looking graph you got there, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us what it means.
But basically, the different colors of light. There's an infrared and the ultraviolet and whatever. So there's different frequencies that those the light changes according to that kind of a graph or whatever. The wavelength, depending on how much energy is involved, determines what kind of a light, whatever color.
So what kind of confused me is, okay, so the red line was ultraviolet, I think.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Because that one had the highest frequency.
Yeah. And there's another funny thing called the ultraviolet catastrophe, which I forget what that is, but that's something that they had to figure out. I think they resolved something about that. Something that, let me look that up, whatever. It's just some of these science terms are pretty funny sounding or really cool sounding, but they're also pretty hard to understand or explain.
Right. I don't know if I got the explanation that I was needing. Hi, Rondo.
So the ultraviolet.
I also find it interesting. Have you ever seen the I think they use an ultraviolet. No, what is the name of those lights? The purple, like black light. So they were showing people were putting on suntan lotion, sunscreen or whatever, and looking at like the before and the after. And so it was just kind of showing you in real time what sunscreen basically is. It's basically like synthesized melanin. So I thought that came to mind too when they were talking about all of this.
Yeah, I don't like sunscreen. Black light is ultraviolet light. Yeah, the black lights, the purple light.
Ultraviolet. Yeah.
What's up, Fiddleford?
Hi, Fiddleford.
Hope you got your science hat on today. I just thought this was really cool or whatever, because it's a vindication of materialism. It's like, this is where some of this stuff that the Marxist people like to talk about sounds kind of wacky, but when we say it's a science, it is a science. We do our best to ensure that it's a scientific kind of thing and not a religious sort of thing, right? So, but there's always, different people have different understandings and misunderstandings of things.
Well, I'm hoping I'm glad you feel better, Rondo.
Oh, been under the weather, eh?
All those male trees because they don't want us to have fruit for free. And look at the problem it created.
Yeah.
Allergy City. Hey, you
Yeah.
gotta be careful. You gotta be careful.
Yeah, bring back some of that indigenous wisdom, and they can fix the pollen situation if you let them. All right, here we go. I got a bit, 15 more minutes or so.
Soot covered or graphite substance, right? So you're extrapolating
Yes.
wildly from this very particular material environment to everything all of a sudden. And it's just an assertion that's never really followed up, chased down, or
Well,
validated.
there was never an experimental proof. As a matter of fact, there was a guy called Stewart who he was in Scotland, and Stewart wrote a law of emission just before Kirchhoff. And Stewart never claimed independence of the nature of the walls. He just said the ability of an object to emit is equal to its ability to absorb. And that became known as Stewart's law. He just took two plates to make this proof, and it was an experimental proof. And then Stewart and Kirchhoff get into a pretty big heated argument because Kirchhoff then publishes his law and Stewart objects. And he basically complains that Kirchhoff wrote a law of physics without any experimental proof. So then what happens is, and this is where the nature of the walls came in. So for physicists, you have these two terms, the ability to emit and the ability to absorb. That's called the emissivity and the absorptivity, for instance. Those are related at a specific frequency. So at different frequencies, you can have different emissivities. You could have different absorptivities in a material. Okay, but whatever you're going to have in that material, even if the shape isn't pure, like you're not in the cavity now, the emissivity and the absorptivity will always be equal. That's what Stewart showed. And then Stewart objected to Kirchhoff saying, hey, it's independent of the nature of the walls. And then Stewart told him, well, you didn't do any experiments. He complained. And he even complained that nobody can follow Kirchhoff's mathematics. Eventually, Kirchhoff's math collapses. He tries to write two proofs. They both collapse. Then Hilbert comes along, and now Hilbert's a great physicist. And in 1913, he comes along and he gives a lecture and he says, there's no valid proof of Kirchhoff's law. Well, now this is a problem because in 1901, Planck writes his equation, and the left side of Planck's equation is emission over absorption is equal to some function. And that on the left side was Kirchhoff's law, the ratio of these two things, right? And so now what happens now, you've got this equation, it's the correct equation, but Planck, when he writes a book, The Theory of Heat Radiation, he says, well, the first thing I have to do.
Yeah, what's up?
Emission. What's the equation? Emission over absorption equals what?
I'm not sure.
Oh,
We'll go back a little bit.
I guess I'm still trying to So when we talk about black box radiation, that from my understanding, they're talking. Oh, what did I just do? Sorry, I'm on a stupid phone. From my understanding, they're talking about how black box radiation is used, like in everything that we have, like the cement versus asphalt, how the asphalt is hotter, and then he kind of made something about they use that to make gosh, what did he say? I can't remember. Anyway, I guess I'm trying to piece that together with that graph because
Well,
I guess
maybe
he just didn't do a good enough job explaining what does this have to do with black box radiation.
Well, the graph, I think, is not something to focus on too much. That's kind of more just like background information. It's not like the subject of the discussion so much. I think it'll be helpful if he can get to the part where he's kind of relating this to like cosmology. And so what they're doing with it, the problem is they did these experiments with these black body radiation things, and then the problem is the theories, the conclusions that they've drawn about the nature of light itself based on these experiments that they did with these boxes, and they kind of inferred way too much about the physical nature of light based on like ignoring certain properties of their physical experiment in order to make those assumptions. So I think that I'm not a physicist or whatever, but from my ability to deduce through logical or whatever, they seem to be on something. And it gets to kind of, it would be an interesting way to as far as our like the confusion over climate science and whatnot. If there's a reason why the global warming narrative is kind of not being received as well, whatever, I think that it would be bad physics that would be allowing us to draw conclusions about temperature, because one of the things they're saying is our understanding of temperature would have to be kind of radically changed if this guy's proof is better, right? How, like John's saying, how science can always change if there's better proof. So I think he's making valid points about them ignoring the properties of the walls during these experiments. Seems to be a fatal error in my understanding.
Okay, I think I'm just thinking too much into it. This is something you have to like go back and.
Yeah, you can see you were asking about the equation is emission over absorption, so maybe hear it again, see if that helps.
Mm-hmm.
Is equal to some function. Inside of Planck's equation is emission over absorption is equal to some function. And that on the left side was Kirchhoff's law, the ratio of these two things, right? And so now what happens now, you've got this equation, it's the correct equation, but Planck, when he writes a book, The Theory of Heat Radiation, he says, well, the first thing I have to do in this book is I have to prove that Kirchhoff's law is right. Because it depends, his own law depends on, I want to apply this to everything. It's independent of material substances, okay? And so then he writes a proof of Kirchhoff's law in his textbook. And that proof, unfortunately, it's terrible. And so we went through, Steve Crothers and I went through, and there's a paper that we wrote and published outlining all the problems in Planck's derivation of Kirchhoff's law. And Planck himself in his book, he actually realizes that, well, in a perfect reflector, we're going to have E over A, that's going to be 0 over 0, so that's undefined. And Planck knew that, in a perfect reflector, it's undefined.
Like if you made the cavity out of like polished silver or something.
Yeah, if you made it out of polished silver, right? Well, then the cavity, Planck himself says anything could exist within such a cavity. And then in his book, he says, but as soon as I put a little piece of carbon in there, then that.
Sorry, what's that?
That's what I couldn't quite recall. He was talking about the cavity.
Yeah, that didn't make sense to me. I don't understand what they mean by anything could exist in there. That's what I'm saying. They have to be wrong about this stuff. Otherwise, reality is too mind-bending.
Okay.
That acts as a catalyst. Planck himself says anything could exist within such a cavity. And then in his book, he says, but as soon as I put a little piece of carbon in there, then that acts as a catalyst and I get the right distribution, okay? And so he attributes to the piece of carbon just catalysis.
I actually have that quote. Can I read it?
Yeah, you can read it.
Okay, so in The Theory of Heat Radiation, he does this entire long proof of how Kirchhoff's law is correct, and then kind of at the end of it, he he's making some acknowledgments of the experimental conditions. And he says, the changes in the heat of the carbon particle may be entirely neglected, for the carbon particle exerts only a releasing action. From a thermodynamic point of view, this process is perfectly analogous to the change produced by a minute spark in a quantity of oxyhydrogen gas or by a small drop of liquid in a quantity of supersaturated vapor. In all these cases, the magnitude of the disturbance is exceedingly small and cannot be compared with the magnitude of the energies undergoing the resultant changes, so that the carbon particle, the spark, or the drop need not be considered.
Well, and this was a
Need not be
major
considered.
error on Planck's part, because a catalyst works by lowering.
And the carbon is like black, right? Isn't that what soot is? Carbon. So
Mm-hmm.
it sounds slightly like even like their racism even bleeds into their attempts to do quantum physics and stuff.
Yeah, they said need not be considered. That's like saying you don't consider the rock that's thrown into a pond, even though it's the rock that caused the ripples.
Yeah, it's mind blowing how they can be so arrogant with that kind of assumption.
Hmm.
But I think that's
Interesting.
what happens if you got like a philosophy that you're trying to prove or a religion kind of thing. A lot of these scientists were like priests and whatnot. So, what's up, Cobra Commander?
Hey, Cobra.
The electron death of the universe, all due to iron. Something humanity has been chasing for centuries now. The problem is entropy. I never looked into that. That'd be something worth looking into. Electron death of the universe.
You're gonna give me a heart
theory.
attack. Boy,
I'm not sure that the universe will end in kind of
get down from there.
the second law of thermodynamics says that everything has to end in heat death. That's a theory. I'm not sure if that's reality. That would be cool to disprove, though. Not fucking my ability, beyond my abilities, but
What's wrong?
all right, I gotta go in 5 minutes. So, do you want me to share with you the link to the video so you can carry on while I'm gone? Or
I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that.
no worries.
Cause I'm on the phone because I can't go in that computer room. He's not gonna
Right.
like that.
Okay. So, did you want to? You have any something else that you were gonna talk about? Anybody want to join Abby and fill in for me while I'm away?
Oh, please don't do that. Okay. This boy's gonna give me a heart attack. He keeps. Okay. Sit down. How about you sit down? There you go. All right. No, this was definitely very interesting, and yeah, maybe we can go in more in depth in another time.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel like is there there's another video or
Where the other video, this one I haven't watched yet. It popped up in my feed, and I was like, that's probably worth watching. I had no idea.
Oh, okay. It's not on this. It's about eugenics. Okay,
Right.
well we could just do that one another day.
Yeah.
I was just thinking like while the information that we just received was right on our brains.
Yeah. With that bigger, the quantum stuff, probably good to digest a little slower.
You're gonna give me a heart attack.
You're just not gonna pick it up if you try and drink a waterfall of info, right?
Yeah, we'll just do it another time.
Old man Barker saying, "Please no, you don't want to listen to the eugenics debate." These are just things that I had in mind as far as something like possible discussions. If you want to have anything else, maybe we should talk about more valuable use of our time.
Um,
The suggestions.
no, he's getting antsy, and now he's jumping all over the place, jumping on couches and trying to do flips.
Mhm.
So I think his playtime by himself is over.
Yeah, I think he's
Those-
probably wanting to get your attention now.
I think so. So it's this is a good place to stop.
Sure, we just wrap up. Have a short one tonight.
Yeah.
All right, you guys cool with that?
Give,
Sorry,
hey, give me
we
that. Give me
do
that.
our typical Tuesday marathon, but
Hey, give me that. Give me that.
it is what it
Thank you.
is.
Okay.
Not sure what we're doing on Thursday as far as topics.
I'm gonna check with Dolce and see if she's available.
Sounds good.
If not, then I'll just let you know and we'll figure something else out.
Yeah, I'll look into a backup if need be in the meantime. So,
Okay.
thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yep.
Let me see.
Even the baby said, yeah.
Robert says there's obviously knowledge in science and technology to discover, understand, and master within quantum reality. I just feel going smaller is the wrong direction. I wonder about if going bigger, the problem is we have to be able to like go farther out. We can't. What we can see from our atmosphere is not very clear, so we need to be getting far enough out from the Earth to be able to see the universe with clarity, which might help us understand our macro perspective. What's up with that? No, yeah,
I was just about to say. I said, "Oh, Sean being messy."
I'll show Abby how much work I'm getting carried away with this. I'm doing like a Whitney Webb style freaking deep dive on this stuff, but I just feel there's too much. I'm trying to wrap it up, and then I go scanning through the parts that I've already written. I'm like, I gotta add this, I gotta add that, and I'm like, I just don't. I'm kind of maybe I gotta break it up into 2 parts, but I want to
think he's
publish
writing a book
and then republish it after the initial. I just want to get it out there in one piece at first, and then have some feedback as far as how to break it up, basically. But it's not a book so much as basically it feels like a thesis to me. Like if I were going to try to apply to a university or get my master's of something, that's what it feels like. But what I was trying to do is that journalistic integrity thing of actually include your sources instead of just make up some shit based on your opinion. So
Oh, speaking of dissertation, so I found out that the one of the founders of, is he a founder of the Heritage Foundation? He might not be a founder, but he definitely is on the board or something. Well, anyway, he and he's like very instrumental in writing Project 2025. He got his PhD in history, and his concentration was African American history and studies. Now, why would somebody who he wrote his master's dissertation and his PhD dissertation on I forget. I could pull it up. Maybe we could talk about it Thursday or whatever. It's like, why would you want to study us and you clearly don't like us? That's quite interesting. So
there's a whole other side of people who want to study you guys, and it's the people who are up to no good with their studies, prove their bullshit theories.
So that means like whatever he was studying to learn, he's using it against us. So now I gotta try to find those dissertations read it and compare that to what's going on in Project 2025. See where I see the overlaps. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's crazy shit, ain't it?
Yep. Definitely worth looking into some of these academic, so-called academic, whatever, what their agendas are, because a lot of people are lapping it up. You know.
Yep. Well, all right. Let me let you go. Walk Bella. Hey, Bella.
Yeah. My dog was doing this yesterday. One dog ate the other dog's dump and puked it up. She has seems to have stopped. She used to do it more. Every once in a while, she'll pick one up, or she'll get something from the grass. I can't tell what it is, but
And that's why I don't let dogs lick on me.
and that's what it is. They're actually trying to. It's not just gut bacteria. They're literally trying to get parasites, so that their body can build the antibodies. If they have babies, then their babies have a natural immunity from the dog's intentional ingestion of parasites from eating shit. Dogs are so interesting.
Um. So Sean, I don't. He says as also what we know of as science right now was manufactured mostly by Robert Maxwell.
Mm.
This is why I say whatever history that was taught, throw that shit out the window and really go look it up, because there's a narrative that they want to portray, and seeing as though he had control of all our school books, I don't want to. Whatever I read there, I don't believe it.
Yep,
I
I
need
think it's called
proof.
the Flexner Report. Go check that out.
The what
Very
report?
illuminating. The Flexner Report.
Flexner.
Let me just double
F.
check. Flexner.
Wait a minute. He's a little too quiet. Hold on. Oh, okay.
Oh. Yeah, it's a book-length landmark report of medical education in the United States and Canada, written by Abraham Flexner, published in 1910 under the aegis of the Carnegie Foundation. And long story short, that's basically the foundation. That's like when they pushed out holistic medicine and like
Oh yeah. Replaced it with pills.
yeah,
Yes.
they whatever they made the regulations for science, and then they
Mm-hmm.
defined what was and was not medical science based on the petrochemical lobby, whatever, pill pushers.
Well, maybe we do have a topic for Thursday, a backup topic.
Yeah, I hadn't talked about that for a while, but yeah, something that
Alrighty. Well,
that's maybe what it should be. The hantavirus. You heard about this hantavirus stuff? They're trying to do the COVID playbook, like I've been saying. It's a matter of time. If we never learned our lesson about what kind of the conspiracy theory of the COVID, whatever situation, then that they're able to do the psyop on us all over again. They're actively deploying the COVID psyop all over again with this hantavirus thing. It seems they're trying to.
Okay.
Might not have picked up on that if you're trying to hear every horror of the day.
Okay. All right. He's trying to get my attention. So.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Hopefully, we'll see you Thursday. If not, be careful. We'll see you back here Tuesday or somewhere in the interwebs in somebody's chat. I'm certain of it.
Yeah. We'll see you.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Au revoir.